put our hands together for a stretch. Thank you. That's pretty cool, eh? There's a real sense of God's presence here this morning. You know, it's often when you do something different, you get a bit out of your comfort zone, you get a bit off base. It's at those times where we really sense God's presence often the most. And there's this great quote I found this morning. As we've been looking at God's restoration power over the last few weeks and last few months actually online. And it says this: God is still a God of restoration and healing. No situation is too far gone for God to restore. How good is that? I don't know about you guys, I needed to hear that this morning, that no situation is too far gone. No matter where you're at, what you're facing, what comes against you, what direction maybe you take the wrong path or feel like you've made some wrong decisions, but nothing is too far gone for God. How good is that? Because often our friends, might desert us, or people that we thought were backing us up might walk away when they said they were going to be there. God won't be put off. He won't be disappointed. He won't be embarrassed by us. He's not going to go, well, I don't know about that. I mean, I was there, I was hanging in there until you did that, but now I'm out. He doesn't check out. He's always there for us. And we're really blessed this morning to have one of our brothers from up the north. So GMAC, why don't you come up? Why don't you put your hands together, make him feel welcome. So I kind of put GMAC on the spot, not just now, but about 30 seconds ago. And so GMAC, tell us a little bit about, I know you've been working on this old Harley, is it? Yeah. Or an old Yamaha or something, I don't know what it is. Walk us through some of that, like what you've got. Tell us a bit about the bike, the restoration process that you're going through on the bike at this stage.
Yeah. Hi friends, I'm Grant, GMAC. Live up there in Iluka. I've got a little family and a little wife and a home and a business. And probably over the last 10 years or a bit longer, I've started to live a dream, I suppose, and starting to play with a couple of old motorcycles, and not a Yamaha, not that there's anything wrong with that. So, first was a shovel head, and I've got the shovel head to where I wanted, and it's been my daily ride for 10 years or more. And then I've picked up this old iron head, old rigid iron head. It's obviously not a stock machine, but I got it, and it was a basket case, and the frame was broken in about 4 spots. Not that I knew it at first, so I thought I'd strip it down and chase a new frame and put it back together and be riding it in a week. But it hasn't been that for me. Traced down a frame, and all frames I could buy these days, which was going to be legal for me to use, and it was a wide back end, so none of my exhausts fit, nothing fitted, and so it's been a good lesson of patience, tolerance, and learning, really, restoring this thing to how I want it. That I brought some upsweep exhausts for it, and they didn't fit, so I had to chop and cut them and everything. So she's a really custom machine, right down to the engine mounts. Nothing fitted from the old one, and so it was to the drawing board, and it was one piece at a time, tracking it down from America, and I think I've still got bits coming from China, which I'm not worrying about because I couldn't wait, so I'll have a set of gaiters turn up, Billy. We'll get rid of those rags, and so look, it's a good life. It's mate, it's a life I've never experienced really, and it's just that one day at a time stuff, and that restoration of God stuff that Matt talked about.
So with your bike, obviously part of restoration and restoring the bike is finding the right parts. Is part of, somebody once said that the work of restoration can't begin until you find the problem. You need to know what the problem is before you can actually fix it, and I'm sure you've found that with your bike. Can you tell us a little bit about your personal journey and what you've seen God do in your life, maybe in recent times?
Yeah, okay. So recent times, 2010, my wife and children left, and I ended up in a drug and alcohol rehabilitation program on the Gold Coast, and I went in there and I was unemployed and unemployable. I was broken. I didn't know what was broken. I didn't know how to fix it. I'd been told by police, judges, blue coats, family. They used to tell me, but nothing ever. I didn't know, and I didn't feel they understood. I've done that program, and and got introduced to new different ways of life, and people that's also has been on that journey and have got a good life today, and so that's been for the last almost 10.5 years now. So so I realised what was broken, and what it was I had no God, no God, no peace, and to know God's to know peace. But I won't really say unfortunately for me, because it's been an amazing journey. But for me, there wasn't any burning bush. I didn't just have a spiritual experience or awakening overnight. And maybe that was my fault. I never come from a family that believed. I never had a belief. So it was really hard just to say, okay, I got one, But I suppose and you mentioned willingness, and I think that was, my first thing that I got was honesty about who my life and what's it become, and then and becoming open-minded, because there's nothing more certain than a closed mind, and I knew all the answers. Just ask me. You might have to send a letter because I was probably in jail, so the answer might have taken a while. But and then willingness, and I've learned that the key of willingness, I could open the door ever so slightly, and we can always open the more. And these people that I met sort of told me I need to pray, and I faked my whole life, so I didn't like to fake it till you make it. But one bloke said to me, well, you got to faith it till you make it, and I said, well, I'd rather that, and I had to start to pray with him to whatever, and that was okay. Well, I don't know if it was comfortable, but I could do that to whatever, and through prayer and meditation, I've improved this conscious contact with God that I've come to understand, or haven't come to understand, but on that journey. Yeah, it's a great journey.
It is. Can you share maybe with us, G-Mac, some of the things that maybe, where you said you didn't, you knew what was broken, but you didn't know how to fix it. So encountering God, and we know that God created us, He designed us. In Ephesians it says that He designed it as handcrafted, one-off objects for good works that He's prepared in advance. So can you just maybe share a little bit about what's that journey been like for you, now discovering, you already knew you were broken, but discovering some of the fixes or some of the things that have changed and have helped you restore your own life to what you feel God has always had a purpose for you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
All right, I think I work on clean house, trust God, and help others. So, look, for me, I don't blame my family. I come from a broken home. My parents were adult children of alcoholics. My father, the only time he got to sleep at night was when the cops dragged his father away. And when, what I've been able to do in this last 10.5 years is sort of have a look at my makeup, and not to blame, but to know who I am and stuff, and my grandfather died from drugs and alcohol. His father cut his throat in his own thunderbox. When they cleaned out his place of work, they found bottles. So he too, and it goes right back until the convicts. Really, I've got a thing saying that I belong to him, and I thought, oh God, there's me people. But so I had a life of addiction. Look, I left school at barely 14 years of age, and for me, unfortunately, I become a heroin addict. I was a heroin addict at 14, but I left school with a needle in my arm at 14, and I was in and out of jails until I was 39 years of age, off and on, and what I had to learn was that I can't use drugs no matter what it is, and alcohol to me is a drug I can't drink, and so what I had to learn was how to stop, and that's what rehab done. I stopped, but what I had to learn was how to stay stopped, and that was the challenge. And So that's why I digged in my past a little bit, and I looked at my wrongs, and you know, I had low self-esteem, and my earliest memory was what's wrong with me. And it didn't help by my dad when he was around, or anybody saying, what's wrong with you, kid, you know? And I had nothing, I had no one, I felt alone. When I first used, I think I stole Mum's fruity Lexia and I got drunk in grade 7. And I just remember then thinking, there's nothing wrong with me. I just got to do this for the rest of my life. So I turned my will and my life over to the care of drugs and alcohol from that early age. I thought that was my God. And that changed my perception of reality. And, you know, and I chased that stuff, but it didn't work. It didn't work. It backfired on me, and, you know, and it nearly killed me, left me for dead a few times. And so I had to learn why not to use. And so you know, I belong to a program called Narcotics Anonymous, and I'm very grateful for that program. I'm grateful for two things. I'm grateful for that. I thank NA for God, and today I can thank God for Narcotics Anonymous because God's all over my life today. God was always all over my life, you know, and I can kick back now and just see that stuff, you know, instead of just saying, geez, I was lucky or whatever. God was all over my life, and you know, so it was a bit of looking at the lie I believed about myself that I am. You mentioned it. God didn't make rubbish, so I'm not rubbish. You know, I'm living a life. I'm living a lie. I'm dazed and confused, and I'm broken, and God can fix all that. So I've done a lot of writing and a lot of mentoring through other people that have done the same sort of mentoring above me, you know, and I've done that work, and I go and I open up meetings and stay at meetings for the next kid that comes along. It doesn't matter what age, and also wants to get out of that trap of addiction. And you know, so that's doing God's work. He's planted me there, and you know, and through that journey, I've had Christians come in and out of my life. The bloke that got me to my first meeting and dumped me at the rehab was a Christian, you know, and I didn't really know if I wanted what he had. I didn't want to catch what he had. He was nutcase. Like, really. Like, I'm just thinking, really? And today, unfortunately, he passed away at 22 years clean from bowel cancer. And there's not a day in our lives that me and the family don't think and thank that man for what he gave us, you know. But I just couldn't see that at first, you know. But so I'm on that journey, and you know, and I dipped my foot in a few churches as well, and just you know. Unfortunately, I felt dirty, and I just didn't get the right combination of people in there to make me feel, I don't know, you know, and that's probably me, and I'm for sure, you know, and you know, and then I just, one night there, I'd met a couple of blokes on Facebook, and I didn't know they were long riders, or one's an associate, one's a long rider, and but they're Shovelhead fans, you know, and I'm on a Shovelhead page, you know, of course we are trying to find parts, and I saw one of them post that he's off to Yamba, and I messaged him. I never met him face to face. He said, I'm in Yamba that night. I said, how about we catch up for a coffee? And they rang me from Yamba on that Saturday, and they said, we're just about to go out for dinner, do you want to come? And I just finished a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, you know. And see, I'm very obsessive, and I'm getting better with that stuff. And so I believed I turned my life over to Jesus, I thought, when I was about 3 years clean, and next minute I tattooed him all down my guts. But I'm only sharing this because that night, 7 years later, in this NA meeting, I was sharing I'm getting rid of it. It's late, I'm laser raising it off, and I'm going to put this topless dragon lady that my mate drew me on my guts. And you know, I didn't know these men were long riders, and I finished that meeting, and we went down there, and the Northern chapter was all sitting there, and I'm thinking, hang on, you know, and I felt like I belonged in my walk then, you know, like there's an amazing fellowship in the spirit, but there's an amazing spirit in the fellowship as well, and you know, it's a little bit, I suppose, Gandhi said it's like a hospital for broken men.
Yep.
Not for everyone, I don't know, you know, but I'm certainly getting to know people, and you know, I don't think we get here this good looking from an easy life, do we? You know, and you know, so it really invigorated my love for Jesus. It's what I was seeking, it was what I was missing, it's what I was rejecting. You know, and at the National at Wentworth, I left all that stuff under the Murray River. You know, got baptised, and I said, don't go swimming in the Murray, you don't want to catch that. And you know, but with Jesus we're right, aren't we? So, you know, so look, I'm on this journey and my life's been restored and it's still going. It's just amazing.
So it's an ongoing process.
It's an ongoing it's not a destination.
Yeah.
We know where the destination is, but until then it's a journey, you know, and I'm just glad I didn't miss it.
Yeah.
I'm glad this ignorance and arrogance and God Jesus become my reality when He become my necessity.
Yeah.
And I hope to spread that message to people I find along the way too. You know?
Awesome.
Because it's a great life.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for sharing just a snapshot of some of your story, GMAC. Really appreciate it. Just as we sort of come to a close of our time together, is there one sort of thought or one thing that you'd like to leave everyone with, that you'd like to encourage people here and those watching online as well?
I think it's that clean house, trust God and help others stuff, you know. It's get off our stinking rotten selves, you know, and get out of the heads and into our heart. The longest journey that we've got to be on, and when it comes from the heart, it's nothing but beautiful and serenity, you know. And when it comes from the head, it can be anything, and it's usually a lie or it's egoistic or whatever. So I think you know, love, you know, do love. There's enough hate in the world. Do love, and I think, you know, what's the worst that can happen is we're going to have a fantastic life. You know, we go home and meet our Maker.
Yeah.
God,
Hey, let's put our hands together for the team. Thanks for, like I said, thanks for sharing this morning. You know, in just a few moments we're going to click Facebook Live off and kind of finish that. But there's tea and coffee at the back, and I would encourage you, if you something in your life is connected with GMAC's story this morning, come and have a chat to him. You may find that might be the one moment today, might be that moment where something changes in your world, where God's able to just click something, where something makes sense for maybe the first time, where there's a sense of His presence, His power, you know, interacting with your life. And I just want to leave you with this one quote. So Chuck Swindoll, well-known author, and he says this: "Our God is a master at turning devastation into restoration." That's pretty good, isn't it? God is a master. He's not just an amateur. He's not an apprentice. He's a master at turning devastation into restoration. And you heard from GMAC, it's a process. It's not a once-off deal. We start and our whole lives become about this restoration process, you know, which is really cool. So I want to thank everyone for coming this morning. Thanks for those watching online, Facebook Live, and we really appreciate all you guys. Why don't we stand up? I'm just going to close in prayer, and then let's have some fellowship together. And please remember social distancing and all that stuff. But talk to GMAC. You know, he's got a lot to offer, and you might even want to ask him, can he pray for you this morning? That would be really cool. So, Father, we just thank you for our time together. We thank you for our brother here, GMAC. Lord, we thank you. Lord, like he said, you switch the light on. He no longer looks at his life as rubbish or a run of mistakes. Rather, he sees that you were there the entire time. There was no luck involved. It was your blessing. You were there watching, caring, nurturing, protecting. And Lord, that doesn't stop. That doesn't stop. So Father, I thank you for GMAC's willingness to share. Lord, we thank you for our time together, Lord.